Hey everyone, Real Witch Doctor here. So, with a long delay of me talking about it multiple times, doing a video of my cockpit shell here, without further ado, I will show it to you. It's going to be a LearJet 45XR. It's a full-scale cockpit and shell, one-to-one. It's kind of a little bit of a mess with all the work going on, but it'll make some sense. It's up on jack stands right now before I show you, so it's going to look higher than what it should be, because I still need to be able to crawl underneath the simulator to finish up the column yoke assembly for having a good force feedback and centering on it. So let's get started. Let me back up here first so I can show you. So I'm kind of standing in the hallway outside my office. Ignore the racing wheel there, that's for my American Truck Simulator, but there you go. It's definitely not finished, but I will say at this point about 40% done. Shell splits in two, so it will slide out of the well, this is a bedroom technically, but it will slide out through the door really tight, but it will clear. I think I have about a ½ inch on each side. So let's go ahead and move on in here so you can get a little better view. Let's kind of get the inside, then I'll go in more detail. So you can see all the ribbing. The aluminum siding has gone in between each of the ribs. The shell itself is made out of 3/4 inch particle board. Is it 3/4? Yeah, 3/4 inch particle board, or MDF. It was a kit that was purchased through Project 45. I was going to originally just purchase the plans and templates and then cut everything out by hand, but this one presented itself to me and had an opportunity to purchase it, so I went that route. So basically the ribs are all put together. You can kind of see the holes for the cable runs, light there so I can see what I'm doing during the evening. You can see the bolts across the top there, kind of keeping the frame together. And you might be able to see the seam there where the two halves meet up. So I didn't finish, or I didn't fully paint this back panel here, because this is all going to wind up being covered up anyways. But there's going to be, it's kind of like a bendable plastic, polys, I don't know what you want to call it, which is going to kind of arc around. That's where the curtain that's going to mount up there at the door. So what I did paint green, so it's going to be kind of exposed until I can cover it up, and the rest of it you'll never see. So the shell itself out here on the outside, I'll go into the detail of the window in a second. Basically once, I can go back in here real quick. Once the shell was assembled, the inside in between each rib, basically ribs, what I would call it, was aluminum, basically like a rolled aluminum I bought. So I would cut it out and stick it in between, screwed them down. So each, where all the 3 screws are in rows, there's like maybe like boning or additional support that runs across. I can show you right here. So this is kind of what it would look like. So each was notched all the way out, and then it ran all the way across just to give it more reinforcement on the structure. And so the aluminum siding was screwed down, then sealed off with caulking, and I mean just that alone made this thing really solid. And once with everything that was painted, the outside it looked like a Gemini module almost, with the shiny aluminum in the green. Then after that, so basically where each, you had the ribs that came across here, there were like squares that were open. So what I wound up doing is filling those in with spray foam, little easy foam cans you could buy at like Home Depot and Lowe's. Fill each of the squares in. I think it took me like 12 cans to do both sides, maybe a little more. Here, see if I can get a better side shot here. So I filled in each of the squares with that, let it dry for a couple days, so it would finally stop expanding and contracting, or cure I should say. Come back down, shave it all down so it's pretty flush, and then go back in and fill any air holes that may have arisen from laying down the spray foam. From there, bust out the palm sander, get the shape on it, and I laid down 3 layers of matted fiberglass, and then one layer of the cloth woven fiberglass on the top for the finish. What I wound up having to do in this office, because I wasn't going to try to run this thing up and down stairs, is I built a whole clean room. So I had PVC piping, built up a whole plastic box around this thing, so the whole thing was sealed off with a vent going out the window and a filtered intake on the opposite side, so air would filter through, and so I could somewhat breathe in there even with the mask on. But it contained all the dust for the most part, and made it easy for cleanup. I think anybody would have been looking outside with a box fan and some cardboard directing the airflow probably thought this was like a drug lab or something. Kind of funny. Then you got the base here, which you can tell is jacked up on the jack stands with little caster wheels, just built on 2x6s and a sheet of plywood. My makeshift stand holder for my force feedback steering wheel. Use that for American Truck Simulator. But so you got the front side here. This is basically going to be the electronics bay. I got a couple of computers here I'm going to test out with the software. So it's got a little base that it sits on, and then underneath you can run all the wiring. Not going to really see all up and down in there. And then basically you got room to feed anything up back behind the panels that you need to. And then you can see one of the red plates that keeps the seams together. And then there's a vent hole there where I could put a fan in for venting heat out. Same there, but what I'm going to wind up doing is using that for pumping cool air in, and get one of those in-room, modular roller type ACs that you see at Home Depot and Lowe's. And so for the windows here, basically when I was laying the fiberglass, first thing you do is you cut out a little template that matches up with the window, and you put it down because the windscreen is flush with the fuselage, or I should say for the skinning on the fuselage. So basically you can see all the screw holes where everything had gone in. Those will still continue to be used as the main anchors, but I'll be using a little larger screw. I haven't decided if I'm going to use a larger screw or go with a bolt style screw, and then there's those little brass thread ones that you can use. You can screw and then the bolt screws into it. I haven't decided which route I'm going to go on that yet, but you can kind of see that it's built up there. There's a little bit of a painter's tape that I couldn't get out, but it's fine. It's not going to affect the windscreen in any way. Worst case, if it does, I just kind of scrape it out a little bit and adjust to keep it flush. So that's the outside of it. Here's the inside. Got the bedroom window open. Let me kind of come down low. That way there will be a little better. So you got the glare shield, which will also handle the autopilot. You got your warning caution light up on top. You got your main instrument panel, which has got your pilot and first officer side. You'll have your RMUs, your in between the two, which are, I don't have anything long to reach up over there, which are this one and this one's your radio stack, warning, and then these will be your backup gauges, which is basically your speed, your altimeter, and then I think your artificial horizon, if I remember right. And then along the bottom where you got the large rectangle squares cut out, that's basically your lower instrument panel, and that'll be for your engine startup, electrical, gear, hydraulics, pressure, all that good stuff. And right up, where this bad boy's sitting, that'll be your test panel. Basically, you test all your various instruments, make sure, for your pre-flight, make sure everything's working. This is where the throttle quadrant bay is going to go. As you can see, it's kind of curved. Right there is where the emergency gear free fall is. Basically, it's a bypass, so if you were an emergency and the gear wouldn't release normal, it does a hydraulic dump and drops your gears for you. That'll be hooked up, but I don't think it'll really ever be used in prepared 3D that I'm using. So let me move these. These are basically the push buttons to the monitors that are in place right now. Get the sandpaper. I'll go over that in a second. Then you got the lower pedestal here, which here can hold the flight management computers, or what's these one. I mean, the large Boeings, they're like FMS computers. Basically, you know, you just type in all your routes, your navigation, and your aircraft information, and the rest of it all calculates out for you. Basically flies the plane for you. And then it's not going to take up the whole thing. It'll take up a section of it, and then you'll have whatever else you stick in. From that point, you kind of decide where you want to put the rest of your panels. Right here is where the engine startup is going to wind up being, because that's just the whole size of that panel for starting up left, right, dealing with fires. And then everything down below would be like for the APU, which is your auxiliary power unit. If you don't happen to have ground power, you'll use that, and then you can stick whatever else you want there. And then right here is going to be simulated phone, because it's like the intercom phone. That's where that's going to go. So I did get a few things in from Project 45. So I got this backer panel. All it is like plexiglass that's cut out, which is for the Hobbs indicator, which basically tells you how long your aircraft's been running or engines have been turning. When I look at it, it actually fits up pretty good. So this is going to drop up like somewhere around here. You know, I haven't decided where I'm going to put it, but I think I'll put it down low and out of the way. So this will basically screw down into the wood, and then the actual portion of the panel, whatever I need, will come up on the bottom, which is going to be basically a display screen, and then another up top panel, which will have the actual engravings on it. And then I got two of these here, which this is like your warning caution. That will go up here, so you got your push button on it and everything. But that will go right there, one on each side, which is pretty cool. So I got all the connections on it for the wiring. And last thing I got, which I was pretty fortunate on, these are going to be the overhead lights that in a sense go up here. They're like map lights, or just overhead cabin lighting for the cockpit. Sorry, making a mess here. Or these here. These are out of an actual LearJet, so I can at least say I got something in here that's been in the sky and put some time in. These operate on 12 volts, so it's just getting a 12 volt power supply and then hooking it up. This will go up here somewhere, and it moves. Let me grab the. This is just a cover for the screws on the back, so you don't happen to short anything out. I got a 3D printer, so this was one of my mock-ups of the rudder pedals that I was testing out. Just kind of getting a feel for what I was going to do. I was getting into doing metal casting, melting aluminum. So I was trying to do like a lost wax type thing, which didn't work out too well. And then I tried doing styrofoam, because I've seen a lot of those being done. Still didn't work out too well, just because of how complex the part is. And then I tried a couple of other things I can't remember. I bought some filament that was equivalent to styrofoam, and it still didn't burn out as well as I could. I mean, I'm not somebody that pours metal, so I'm not very good at it, but it's been a learning experience. So now I'm down to, I just bought a plasma cutter, got some sheet metal, printed out my templates. I'll be just cutting them out with that and just weld the thing together. Should have did that in the very beginning, I'd be further along. This bad boy here is, your flight yoke out of a LearJet 45 also. So this one is this one's the pilot side right here. And then the first officer will be over here, but the control buttons on the top will be flipped. So this side here will be on this side, and the other side's the other side. Then you got like your push to talk button down on the back, and ident and things like that. I'm redoing these risers here because they're not sitting up as flush as I wanted, but you can see the column assembly that's going to go into with the crap, I'm drawing a blank what those are, but basically the cable run's going to run to the other side, so when you turn one side they stay in sync. This thing is really tight and moving, which is what I want, but I'm not going to know if it's the right strength on the pole that I need until I get the column put in and get the yokes put on due to their weight. But I have these parts here. That's a dampener off of a Suzuki GSX-R 600, for the handlebars. Use that in to keep it from springing back too hard, and using springs on the top and the bottom in order to, give it some sort of pull and keeping it center. And then the pieces that the dampener and the springs hook up to, I 3D printed along with the brackets that are next to it, the lighter green. Those were 3D printed to just kind of give some additional support and keep the pipe from coming loose. And you can see the same side here. And then the mount down there, I 3D printed that also. 3D printer had paid for itself like within the first week when I bought it. And then we've got, flip that, I'm gonna have to edit that so it comes out right. My rudder pedal base, these pieces right here on the side, I casted those with aluminum, printed out, or not printed, but I cut out a mold or template out of wood, packed it in, the green sand, and then poured it. And I was surprised it came out pretty good. A little bit of cleanup, but it worked out. And then I welded the square tubing onto a metal base, and for the most part, it works out pretty good. So, and what I'm going to be working on doing is getting that tied in with the pilot side with the first officer side. So whatever you do on one side, the other side will get it as well as it should in a real plane. So that's pretty much it with the simulator part for the most part here. Actually, I can show you underneath. Hopefully it's not too dark down below. But square tubing running all the way across. You can kind of see the spring assembly that is going up to the cross section for the control for the yokes and the control columns. There's a 2x6 lane over there which I need to put back up. That'll run across. So if you kind of see, there's some big ass bolts there, and that's what's holding the rudder assembly in. But right where that went down, that 2x6 was going across for extra support, and I had to take it out so I can move it up a little bit. And I haven't just finished it yet. Yeah, so I got panels on order. That's about a 9-month lead. I just placed it probably about 3 weeks ago. There'll be full panels with backlighting on it, and then I'll also have to do is add my buttons and then run the wiring. I need to buy the boards that control the buttons for all the logic back to Prepared, or Prepare 3D, or just call it Flight Simulator at this point. And I think that's going to be the FDS sys boards. I don't know how many I'm going to need. The one I'm looking at should cover everything. It's just the board's a little on the pricey side, a little more than I'd want to spend. But if I only need the one board, then it's going to be just cheaper overall. I'm going to try to do a few things with an Arduino. I thought about using a Raspberry Pi, but it's not going to give me the oomph that I need to push everything. But the Arduino, actually, I can do a lot of logic with. And I'm going to play around with that. And if I could actually do just about all the logic with it, I might go that route, just because the Arduino is so much cheaper than the FDS board. The one I'm looking at has like 128 outputs or 256 outputs, like 64 digital inputs, and like another, like 32 or 128 analog inputs. But it's like $400 or $500 for that board. I'd have to go back and look up those numbers again. But there's like relays and stuff you can get, so you can make sure everything clicks off as the one it's supposed to with the right programming logic. But with those boards, it makes life easier. So it's like, this is what I want this button to do, and then it's like, okay, push your button. So you just push the button, and it finds out what pin it's on, and then you're watching Flight Simulator at the same time. Make sure the button's doing what it's supposed to, or whatever it is you're programming, and then it just locks it in. It makes programming so much easier. I was messing with the SIOC boards which is a completely different like programming language, and it's almost like machine code to a degree, but it's still programming. It's just a pain in the ass. The writing tests with that one. At this point, I'd rather just spend a little more money and just get it going, because I've been working on this thing for 3 years. I've been told I was way ahead of most people that started the project at the same time I have, because it's an average duration about 5 to 6 years before people are 100% done, or almost 100% done, I should say. But if I'm ahead of the game, then I feel a little better. But the big one's going to wind up being is making the paneling. So I've started looking at using foam and stuff for shaping, and then turn that into your mold and lay your fiberglass over it, and you have your mold, clean it all up, Bondo into the pits and everything else, paint it, and it should look good. I mean, technically I could buy them also. I'll kind of weigh the pros and cons at the time. But I'll stop the video here. I'm going to run downstairs and I'll show us a couple of the tools that I use for what I do for making this stuff. And then I'll wrap this video up. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm in my garage. Ignore the mess down below. But this is my CNC machine. It cuts 2 feet by 4 feet. I got this from CNC Router Parts. Running on, I want to say these are NEMA 24 motors. And then I got just a Bosch router. I changed out the collet on it, which has a deflection of, I think it's 0.000. It's like 5 or 6 zeros, one. I mean, there's no play to the collet being out of whack. Unlike the factory, which their tolerance is just crap, so you get a pretty good wobble. It's apart right now because, as you can see, I don't have anything in here, and there's some more of the extrusions for support. I had to take it apart because when I put it together, I was just on the assumption, which was stupid me, that the edges here were cut square on everything, so I put it together based on that and squared it up with that. And I started noticing my parts, if they were small, down in that back corner is where 0 and 0 is on the X and Y axis. If they were small, they cut fine, but once I got out about 2 feet, I started noticing a deflection on the Y. So lengthwise is X and then widthwise is Y. So I started noticing that it was skewing in on the Y side. The X axis would cut, I wouldn't say the Y-axis would cut straight, but the X-axis would have a skew because the gantry was right, which is this part here. This thing is your gantry. So that was raked, and I was trying to square it up, and I'd get it close, but it was still like a half a degree off, like 89. It was at 89.5, and roughly over 4 feet, that was about a ½ inch, maybe a little more, once you got down to the end of the table in the cut. So finally just got to the point like I'm just going to tear it apart, square it up. And so I was spent 3 days just trying to get this corner and that corner squared up. And I have a digital angle finder. Oh, here it is. This thing here is digital. So I threw it up on the end of the extrusion just to see if it was cut straight, and they're not. They're like 89.2 to 89.8, so I matched it up to something that wasn't a perfect 90 degrees. No wonder nothing came out square. So I've been working on it every day, trying to get it as close as possible to get square. If I can, right now I think this side is at like 89.9, and that side is like 90.1. So if I can get the opposite in fairly close as well, I can square the gantry off with that. I mean, a 0.1 degree difference is a little easier to try to square up than, a ½ degree difference, because the rake on the gantry was just killing it. But that's about it with that. So I have basically these proximity sensors. Let's see if I can get that to clear up a little bit. There we go. For basically zeroing, so it never really touches a button as soon as it just detects proximity of metal, it trips and then sets that point as 0. There's one right here also, let me pull it out. So this one here, which mounts technically right here, and it will detect, get out of the light here a little bit, sorry, which detects basically that. And then all you have to do if you need to adjust a little bit of the rake, you can just adjust the sensor in and out a little bit. And that should take care of it for the squareness. This is just a complete and total mess. I got the monitor, and then there's a computer down here which drives the driver boards, which is right there. And then there's buried back there the driver boards hook up to, which converts it to an LPT port and then connects up to the printer port on the computer. But this thing that is a mess is my laser engraver cutter, and I'm still dealing with this one. I can't open it up because everything's on top of it, but this lid opens up to get to it. So I've got the CNC portion which drives the motors, the laser which drives the laser, and it's got water cooling in a 5-gallon bucket and a big ass fish air pump to blow the smoke out of the lens area, so you continue to have a clean cut. I don't know if I can get anything in here. Maybe if I could turn the light on. I don't have the light here. Okay. I don't know if you're going to really see that. I'll try to clean it up in the post. But the glass there is the laser tube. It's 40 watt, and I was told that it was supposed to cut up to a 1/4 inch acrylic, and I'm just having a hard time getting it all dialed in. But I haven't had the time to work on it to get it all dialed in. I will eventually, but just not at the moment. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. It is a mess in here. I need to clean it up. But that's my project that I've been working on. I know I've talked about it for a while, that I was going to get a video and get it up. So that's where I'm at right now. And as soon as I get some more major improvements going on, I'll get those videos and throw them up as well. And I'm looking forward to doing some live stream with that and just some video footage for YouTube as well. I think it'll be pretty cool. I fly on VATSIM, which is a virtual air traffic simulation. Websites like Victor, Alpha Tango, Sierra, India, Mike. God, I can't think today. Sorry. I don't remember it's .net.com or .org, but if you just do a search for VATSIM, it'll come up. It's a huge community. I mean, if you're talking role play, that's kind of where I started. So you got guys that are real world controllers controlling in the game, real world pilots controlling in the game or flying, vice versa. You got virtual airlines or people doing general aviation or whatever. It's really cool if it's something that you get into. But I'm going to call it here. If you guys like what you've seen, hit that thumbs up. If you're a subscriber, share with everybody that you know. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, notification on the side so you get notified of new videos for this or any of the games that I'm playing. But otherwise, Real Witch Doctor here. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.